so fast. I think this is the right time to make this call.
Well, remember, we're in a climate where the negativity is a proxy for insight. So she's going to get criticized because that's what they're going to do with the Biden administration. And frankly, they made themselves vulnerable to the right, questioning what they do by being exposed for having been slow about it. But my point is this. You say this now. Great. But do you think not saying it sooner risks not getting us to herd immunity?
Well, I don't talk about herd immunity. I don't think herd immunity is something achievable. What I like to talk about is that every single person who gets vaccinated gets us closer. They help reduce the transmission in community. They help protect themselves, their families, those around them. The idea that there's this magic number that we get to, I think is the wrong way to think about it, because people tend to live around people they agree with or people who have similar beliefs. And so even if you hit a magical number of 70%, you're going to have communities that are 50%. And
right.
With that, you're going to be able to see places where it continues to transmit. And I worry that saying, it's 70% or nothing can dissuade people from getting that shot, which actually can make a difference to those around them.
I agree. What do you think about the enforcement model here? With masks, it was, I'm not going to wear a mask, but you knew if somebody was wearing it or not because you have eyes. This is sneaky. You don't know. I don't have a mask on. I say to you, I'm fully vaccinated. Federal government doesn't want to do a bank. State by state, they're kind of doing it. You have the Excelsior Pass in New York. How do you enforce something like this?
Well, you don't. And what the big takeaway here is that if you are fully vaccinated, your risk of having serious disease is really, really low. The data out of Cleveland Clinic, 99.3% of people admitted to the hospital.
Doctor, people say, but the Yankees. Is it just the J&J vaccine? Go ahead.
Yeah, but when you look at the Yankees, the critical piece about the Yankees is they weren't sick. And when you look at the amount of virus that the players had who tested positive, it was really, really low. And so what you're going to find is that, yes, some people will test positive or get infected who've been vaccinated, but we're seeing that they're not likely to transmit to others. And that's the critical piece there, not the fact that some people who get vaccinated will be infected. So it supports, I think, the idea that if you're fully vaccinated, you're in really good shape. The enforcement piece, though, is it's not enforceable. And
right.
What it says is if you decide not to get vaccinated, the risk is primarily on you. We can
right.
talk about kids because that's the one area where that breaks down. But the risk is primarily on those people who decide, hey, I'm not going to get vaccinated.
So,
and yeah.
First of all, for the audience, 8 New York Yankees tested positive for coronavirus after getting the J&J vaccine. But just so you know, 78% of the people who got the J&J vaccine within the Yankees organization, players, etc., 78% did not test positive after the vaccine. The vaccine's efficacy is 72%. So they're still ahead of the
Hello.
Doc, as a pediatrician,
can you hear
would
it?
you advise your families to give the vaccine to their kids 18 and under?
Yes.
Yes.
I would recommend not 18 and under, 12 and up. Yeah, because that's
right. 12 to 18.
Yeah, I definitely would, and I would because that's a group where the older children get the increased the risk increases in terms of severity. Although very few children have died from this, it's in the hundreds. That's far too many, and I worry about the long-term consequences. There have been thousands of kids who've had this unusual multi-inflammatory syndrome. As a parent, the idea that you could get your kids vaccinated and then not have to worry about them this summer, I think is huge. And the idea that kids could go to high school this fall and it could be a normal high school year is absolutely incredible. So I recommend it. I recommend it for my patients. It's children younger than that where the rules still apply. Kids younger than 12 should be wearing masks. They should be social distancing when they're around people, when they're indoors. Those things still apply until there's vaccines for that age. And it's another reason why adults should get vaccinated to help protect those kids.
Dr. Besser, appreciate you. Good to see you. Thank you, especially on this, a big night, a milestone indeed. So,
good to see you, Chris.
Absolutely, always. What does this news today mean in the context of history? How times are changing, and what this means for not just the pandemic, but our approach to other problems. A better mind, this is a brilliant mind. Next.
Okay, I'm going to mute you for 1 second. I have to blow my nose.
and respect.
All right.
To us,
I'm not sure who the one person is that's listening with me, but
which is why we do everything in our
what am I
power
seeing on here?
unforgettable experience.
Popular live videos plus. Wait, what did Dana just say?
Because that's what they deserve.
If you have postmenopausal osteoporosis and a high risk for fracture, now might not be the best time to ask yourself, are my bones strong? Life's full of
I heard there was a mass shooting in Rhode Island, but they never mentioned the details. Liz Cheney rips into Fox News. What? Liz Cheney rips into Fox News on Fox News. Fun times in Portland, Oregon from Streamworks. People you follow, it's showing me my own stream. Let me look on this other. I'm looking at this other. Good evening, who is that? The Night Shift, reading the book of Genesis. I'm looking at these featured broadcasts. Let's look at my feed. Let's look at trending. Badges and pals, what does that mean?
Yeah, now business is rolling in. Get started at fastscience.com.
All right, wait. Did that just close by accident? Hello. We're listening to the information on the mask guidance. I'm sorry. I'm still going to wear a mask when I'm around people that I'm not willing to risk a breakthrough case when I'm in a high-risk category.
I'm searching for info on options trading
And I'm not sorry. And what happened to this? I just had that up here, and where did it go? And how do I get it back?
And it learns with you. So as you become smarter, so do its recommendations.
So it's like my streaming service.
But except now you're binge learning. See how you visit tvameritrade.com/learn.
It's past Woof Woof's bedtime, so he's just sleeping there. And he got featured doing that the other night with no audio when I do not get on the trending board. I'd like someone to explain that to me, please. Alright, what's this one? It's probably notification that I'm live. Enable push notifications. No, not on that. Not on that. Let me see if you can... What? Let me see if you can... What? You can hear me, but can you hear what they're talking about on CNN about the mask guidance change? I don't know if you can. I'm hearing background noise. Can you? But I also have the phone close to the computer. I don't know if you can hear it or not. Because I'm not playing it on the computer, I'm playing it on the TV. I hear an echo. Can you hear or not?
There's been so many things in this pandemic.
Hello.
Game changer.
Hello.
Stopping the spread. A constant visual reminder of a virus in our midst. A symbol used by both left and right to reflect political differences rather than what we, the reasonable, see it as. Highlighting that we're all the same, we all get sick, and what one of us does affects the others. We are all in it together. Trite, but true. So, a milestone. Let's get some perspective on what this means from Thomas Friedman, Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist for the New York Times, author of From Beirut to Jerusalem. Good to see you, brother.
Good to be with you, Chris. Thanks.
What does this mean to you?
Well, Chris, when I and my wife got vaccinated,
Ooh, Woof Woof got
I
2 new
was
subscribers.
personally relieved, but I didn't feel it was really the end of it. I felt personally more secure. In hearing that announcement from the CDC this afternoon, I felt that we were finally at the beginning of the end of this. I felt that there's going to be a real return to normalcy for me, my family, my friends, society. Most of all, you know what I thought about, Chris, and you alluded to it in your introduction. We've just been through a crazy 2 years. I mean, crazy at so many levels because of the past president and the divisions in the society. I don't know what factor was politics and Trump and what factor was the pandemic and the fact that we all had to go around with our faces covered. But I am hopeful that with people taking their masks
Can you
off,
hear or not?
we can talk to each other in different ways, look each other in the eye, see each other smile or wry grin, whatever. That too will reduce the temperature in the country, the political temperature. So that's kind of my hope. But I do think this is the beginning of the end. It's not the end for all the reasons that your previous guest said. But today's a really good day. You know what else it's a good day for, Chris? It's a good day for science. What we've learned is so remarkable. How good these vaccines really are. And I think it's an amazing day for science.
We've got a long way to go. But the mask was a little bit of a for us to see where one party was headed, right? The irrationality, the investing in a lie about the mask was really the precursor to where we're seeing the GOP right now. You wrote in your latest op-ed, if House Republicans follow through on their plan to replace Cheney, which of course they did by a voice vote, it will not constitute
Because they're chicken shit cowards.
But there is a real possibility we'll look back on May 12, 2021 as the beginning of the end, unless enough principled Republicans can be persuaded to engineer an immediate radical course correction in their party. The problem against the premise is the reality that they are moving more in that direction as they continue down the path of attrition. They are going for white fright. And the momentum is in the direction they're headed, not in any other direction.
Hello.
Yeah, there's no question, Chris. I was thinking in preparing for our conversation that the midterm elections this year, 2022, next year, 2022, they are going to be hugely important for this reason. The Republicans go into these midterms with so many advantages after the last census. Through gerrymandering, they're automatically going to get a few more seats. And historically, midterms tend to work against the incumbent party. So they've got a lot of advantages. What we're going to see in these midterms, as this party that has now made it a prerequisite to be a leader in this party and to be a candidate endorsed by the leader of this party, that you have to embrace a big lie. We're going to see if they actually suffer in the midterms for that. If they do come out of these midterms not holding the House, not winning the House back, not winning the Senate back, I think that would be one of the most healthy things that can possibly happen to our country now, because that then, Chris, will force that party to confront their Trump problem. I think the interesting political question, because they're going to want to survive, and if they lose the midterms, the idea that they're going to 2024 backing him, well, that would be political suicide. And so I think this is a really important election, and I think it's going to be really interesting. You see these lists of principled Republicans who've said they're not going to
Hello.
support Trump. We've seen what Liz Cheney's done. If only 3 to 5% of Republicans decide that they're not going to sign on to this, we could have a very different midterm.
I know it's not the best sound,
I think
sorry.
there's a chance that we're going to get some decent, stable governance. If the House Republicans, given what they have come to embrace, win the House, the last 2 years of the Biden administration, they're going to be crazy. These people, when Trump was in power, they at least had some incentive not to blow the whole government up. If Trump is not in power, their incentive is going to be to completely derail Biden. And if that happens, we just have no time to lose, and that will be a disaster for the country.
Well, look, Mitch McConnell told you that that's where they're headed right now. Their position is opposition. Here's my question for you. How do you get ahead of the determinative issue of the midterm, which we know right now, which is election security? They're going to say that any race that doesn't go their way is rigged. What should the media do? What should the system do to prepare for that in advance? Because it's going to happen.
Well, the scary thing, Chris, and I wrote about this in that column you referred to, is that people have been focused on the election security laws that some of these states have passed, like Georgia. You can't give someone in line a glass of water. That's actually a red herring, the really dangerous thing that is going on right now. It's a mugging of democracy in broad daylight. Is the measures that Georgia and other states have taken to actually change who gets to count votes and who gets to certify votes. And if you look, and the studies have been done, and I quoted one, at the measures they have put in, if these measures had existed in 2020, it's very possible that Trump would have stolen this election. So the answer to your question is we have to be enormously vigilant about these things. We have to oppose them. But at the same time, my hope, Chris, is that there's a lot of voters, particularly the kind of black and brown voters that the Republicans are trying to disadvantage by these laws, who are basically going to say to them, you're talking to me? You're talking to me? You don't want me to vote? Well, I'm going to get up at 6 a.m. and I'm going to wear a water pack on my back if I need to, but I am going to vote. And I think they really better be careful because they are just sticking a finger in a lot of people's eye, and their reaction is, you don't want me to vote? Oh, you are now going to see me vote, my grandpa vote, my grandmother vote. I am going to drive anyone I can to the polls. I think you're going to see a lot of that reaction. You are not going to steal this election.
In the interest of this being a positive night, give me that De Niro impression one more time. Give me that you talking to me one more time.
You talking to me?
That's good. That's good. That's got the hair in the back of my neck, all three of them. Tom, take care. Thank you very much. Tom Frieda, ladies and gentlemen. Developments on the Matt Gaetz front. Remember, we told you his friend had to be cooperating with the feds.
Matt Gaetz
This
is a
was not
piece
about
of
inside
shit.
information or even great reporting. It's how the system works. Joel Greenberg, who is also under criminal indictment, is going to plead guilty in days because that's what you do if you want a plea deal. There are other things that had to happen for us to reach this moment and ask the question, what does it mean for Matt Gaetz? And we know them all. So answers ahead from a former FBI big shot next.
Asher Rangappa. And Wolfo's sleeping, so he's not here to ask me not to use bad language on my broadcast.
Tuned in all day long. So when something happens that could affect your portfolio, you can act quickly. That's decision tag. Only
So I need 2 more people to either add me as the first person they follow on Haps or download the Haps app through my invite that's on my other social media. On the stream title, it should have the Haps invite. If I need 2 more people to download Haps, or 2 people who are on Haps that haven't followed anyone yet to follow me as their first follower, so that in order to get that last challenge, that I need 2 more people. I only had 1 a week ago, and after the Podfest Masterclass, now I have 8, but I need 2 more. Who wants to help me? And I know that it's not the best sound this way, but my TV's on delay, and I don't know that I could restart the program on my computer so you could have better sound. But I think I'm going to win a microphone from being on the leaderboard today, so maybe that will help. Having an external mic. So I see there's 9 people on here. I don't know if any of them are from Podfest. Let me look at the Haps app and see if anyone commented. Not the Haps app, the Hoova app. Because I did list it. I said I'd come on from 10 after 11 until 11:55. All right. This is the rebroadcast that normally airs at 10. I'm watching at 11. Because I was watching ABC News. I didn't watch all of Walensky's talk. I watched the ABC. They showed part of it, what she said about masks. All right. And Wolf Wolf and Bear and Bo are not coming on, other than Wolf Wolf who's sleeping there, because it's past their bedtime. It's 10 o'clock in the spring. Chinese medicine bedtime. Okay. Let me look at, you'll hear clicking, so let me do it before the next section comes on, because then you won't. What is this? Has no people or showing other sessions. What is this? New question. I can't even see. I should put on my blue light blocking, the migraine glasses.
someone burns for someone who does not feel the same.
It says, thank you all. It was from the end of Podfest. It says, thank you all, and who else? Can't wait to share gratitude to all the hard work to make Podfest such a success. Will we still be able to see content on Hoover app if we have the VIP pass? I think for a few more days. Hello to the two people that just joined. I'm looking on the, I know the sound's not the best, but I was letting you listen with a discussion of the mask mandate.
I'm Ryan Nobles on Capitol Hill, and this is CNN.
Closed captioning brought to you by FB.
I'm looking, let me look at the Hoover app and see if anyone commented. Q&A, chat, community. 7,137 comments. What?
We have developments tonight in two big MAGA world criminal investigations. You have new court filings that tell us that Congressman Matt Gaetz' so-called wingman and indicted sex trafficker Joel Greenberg is going to plead guilty Monday. No, not so much. But you have to understand why the fact that it's not a surprise doesn't make it very important, and I'll explain why. The Wall Street Journal has reporting on the feds turning up the pressure on longtime Trump money man Alan Weisselberg. Now that is a little bit more of a because it has been an open question as to whether or not they thought they could pressure Weisselberg, who is the CFO, okay, the chief financial officer, not just for Trump, but for his father. So he has such profound understanding of where money went and why, that if they really believe they can get on him, that is a key man.
Nobody
any reckoning
commented.
of anything they want against the former president. We've spoken with key players in both of these situations on this show. Let's unpack where we stand with Asha Rangappa. It's good to see you. Let's start with Gaetz. This is about Gaetz's friends and the women. If the women speak and say, I was underage, he's doomed. If they speak and say, I was paid to go and do things, he's got trouble. This guy, Greenberg, checks the friend box and knows the girls. Him pleading guilty is what we have to see for him to get a plea deal, right?
Right.
Yeah. So if they're giving him a plea deal, he is likely giving cooperation and giving information. And here are the pros and cons, Chris. Greenberg has kind of he's the storyteller here. Like if there are financial transactions that investigators have, for example, a payment that's intended for tuition or salad, Greenberg is the one who can say, yeah, this is what we meant by that.
He's one of the ones.
Salad.
With his Venmo transactions, he can say it. But there are other guys and other transactions. Right.
This is where we went. This is what we did. The problem with Greenberg is that he's facing a 33-count indictment.
Right.
One of the counts of which is for falsely accusing someone of engaging in pedophilia. So he's not the most credible witness, and so they need other people. And this is where, getting either victims, other people who were present, Matt Gaetz's ex-girlfriend, to corroborate that information is really important. I'll also point out here, Chris, that there is another piece of evidence where Greenberg had written a letter to Roger Stone, the Daily Beast reported that, where he was trying to angle for a pardon, and he kind of confesses to these activities before he's cooperating with federal prosecutors. So in many ways, this is kind of against his interest and kind of lends more credibility to this implication that Matt Gaetz was involved with this activity.
Right. And look, Greenberg's not credible. The documents are. And if he can direct them to what other kinds of transactions other people had with Gaetz and women, that's only as good as the proof that they can get, but it's a hell of a direction. I just want people to understand, he's pleading guilty not because he's changing his mind. It's because he had to get the deal, and he'd only get the deal if he had already been cooperating. And in the Middle District, where this is happening in Florida, cooperation going forward is mandatory. So he is definitely going to keep helping them. The only question is how. All right, now the other one that is much more intriguing. If they get Weisselberg, now a judge won't grant a subpoena to get a witness to flip, right? So why does who pays for school matter?
So what prosecutors are looking at is whether the Trump organization was paying the tuition for Weisselberg's grandchildren, and whether that would have been had to have been declared as income on taxes. And if it wasn't, then there might be some tax implications.
It has to be income. It has to be income for them or booked as a gift by Trump. Somebody
Right.
had to
And
book it.
So yeah, it has to be declared. It has to be, characterized as something. But the key here is you have potential tax implications. And what I would say, Chris, is that when you have state tax liability, there is also a likelihood that you may have federal tax liability. And once you get the IRS involved, then that also potentially increases the pressure. Why this is important? Because this can create leverage on Weisselberg, and Weisselberg knows where the bodies are buried.
And isn't his
So,
wife
as you said,
cooperating?
he's been intimately involved with Trump's finances, and the reason that this is really problematic for Trump is that unlike things like obstruction of justice with the Mueller investigation, for which he has, say, constitutional defenses, Article 2 defenses, or the incitement issue, which has, he has First Amendment defenses.
Exercises.
And these are all federal. These are potential state charges, and these predate the presidency, and they have a paper trail. So I think that this is where Trump potentially has the most criminal liability, and the person who can spill all the
Right.
beans is Alan Weisselberg.
And to be clear, it's not that they're going to get Trump for paying for these, tuitions or whatever. It's going to be those
Other
grandkids.
things we can talk about.
Right.
Yeah.
And the grandkids are Weisselberg's grandkids, which means this is his sons. And his ex-daughter-in-law was married to one of his
Oh,
sons.
the daughter-in-law.
On the show. She thinks that Weisselberg is going to turn on Trump. And when I said why, the sons have too much liability. Maybe she was talking about exactly this, and she would know. She was the mom. Asha Rangappa, thank you very much.
So it's a daughter, not the wife.
All right, as you heard us talking earlier with Dr. Besser,
Daughter-in-law.
8 New York Yankees have tested positive for COVID. Vaccine doesn't work. No, I don't think that's what it tells us.
They
I don't
didn't.
think it's what it tells us. So what do we learn from 8 Yankees being fully vaccinated? Well, I'll tell you what we learned right after this.
And 6 of them have no symptoms. But the question is whether people that test positive with few or no symptoms are going to get long haul COVID. Because people that had long haul COVID and got the vaccine, some of them feel better. So now the question is, does it work in reverse? If you get the vaccine and then you get a breakthrough case of COVID and have a mild case, are you going to have long haul COVID, or will it protect you from having long haul COVID? Because some people that had mild symptoms still got long haul COVID that can cause organ damage, mental health problems. So they don't know the answer to that. Yes, now you get me and Wolf, a sleeping Wolf. Because I'm supposed to stand up every half an hour and do my exercises so that I don't... I'm also supposed to put my compression stockings on, which I did not do, but I did take a blood pressure medicine that's a diuretic today because I still have swelling in my ankles. And I still haven't eaten anything for dinner besides some Simply Naked Stacy's pita chips and some Gatorade and guaifenesin, which is like Mucinex, to thin congestion. I feel like I should eat an RX bar that has 2 eggs in it and some nuts, or I should eat a turkey stick, but I don't want to eat anything. And I did have one date, like the kind of date, like the fruit, like a date that has a pit in the middle of it. I had one of those.
When did you see the sign? When I needed to jumpstart sales. Build attendance for an event. Help people find
But I only got 3.5 hours sleep last night, and I took my allergy medicine, and I don't want to eat anything. So there's 15 people in here. Did anybody download the HAPS app? I need 2 more invites or new followers where I'm the first person to get that last. Have I been standing for 5 minutes yet so I can sit down or not? I didn't look what time it was.
Discovery Plus. Is that a for sale sign?
No, that's a Spiegel.
Okay.
Just sit back.
And I still want to know why when Woof Woof was broadcasting the other night with no audio on his stream, sleeping, he got trending board for like over an hour till the phone went dead, and I was on audio streaming and got
Starting at $4.99 a month.
not trending. And if it's because my camera wasn't on, well, right now my camera is on and I'm not trending. I used to be on the trending board all the time and now I'm not. Can someone explain that algorithm to me, please?
Here we go. Everything was great.
Should I
but
take a
got stuck with some
screenshot
bugs.
of me and Woof Woof on the screen at the same
Would
time?
love to work with the Trunk Monkey. Okay, we get it. It's called grooming, people.
Alright. Can I sit down now? Has it been 5 minutes? I don't think so. I'll wait till 11:47.
Rebellion, the transformation of the GOP, Sunday at 8.
The Yankees. Let's talk about the Yankees. All right?
Sure, let's
separate the
talk
yak
about the
from what
Yankees.
matters. We do know this. They can almost fill a starting lineup with the number of, players that have had breakthrough cases, which means they were vaccinated and still got COVID. You have shortstop Torres, Gleyber Torres, is now the 8th member of the organization to test positive after being fully vaccinated. So what does this mean? Well, only one person is showing symptoms. See, that's the key to being vaccinated, is that you may still get it, but you won't be that sick, and you're certainly not going to get hospitalized the same way or, God forbid, die. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which was what they got, which is the one shot, and the J&J has gotten some things that I think are unfair, but that's not about this. The overall efficacy of the J&J single shot is 72% in the United States. All right, now with that as context, let's get after it with Dr. Ashish Jha. It's good to see you. I see the Yankees as a red herring, and it's a false flag to be scared. Why? Because 72% is the cumulative efficacy on this, and 78% of the people they gave it to within the squad have been fine. I mean, isn't that the end of the discussion?
Yeah, so Chris, first, thanks for having me back. Look, we're going to see things like this. I agree with you. It's a false flag in the sense that this is not some game changer about how the vaccines work. We've given these vaccines to tens of millions of people. We're going to see little outbreaks like this. We're going to see breakthrough infections. Nobody has gotten really sick. One person with mild symptoms, 7 other people with no symptoms at all. Imagine what would happen if those people weren't vaccinated. We would have seen a large outbreak, lots of people getting very sick. So I see this as a success story too.
The case counts we're all watching. I wonder if they are all off, because the CDC isn't tracking breakthrough cases. And the only way you'd know is if you got tested and were symptomatic, and most of these breakthrough cases are non-symptomatic. So do we even know what the heck we're talking about with this, out of these 9,245 cases out of 95 million? You know what I mean? Is that worth anything?
Yeah, well, there are 2 parts of that question. First of all, we did in the clinical trials do a lot of testing of people who are vaccinated. And we know from the clinical trials that vaccinations reduces asymptomatic cases by 80 to 90%. So we know these vaccines prevent transmission pretty substantially. The second question is, do you even care about that other 10 to 20%? If somebody gets a little bit of a breakthrough infection, they have very low viral loads. That means they're not sick, they don't have any symptoms, and they can't spread it to others.
But will they
You have to ask yourself, okay, we're going to have a few of those. I don't know how much I care if I miss some.
What about long haul?
What do you make of this argument that, well, now you did it. You told people they could take the masks off. Now everybody's going to take them off and just say they were vaccinated.
That's right.
Yeah, look, the CDC is between a rock and a hard place. I agree with the CDC's decision today. They're staying with the science, and the science is that if you're fully vaccinated, you can be indoors. Now, people are saying, "Oh, how am I going to know who's fully vaccinated?" You're not, which is why I think we should not be lifting the indoor mask mandate quite yet. I've been asking governors to hold off for another month. That gives everybody who wants to be vaccinated a chance to get vaccinated. After that, look, people who are unvaccinated.
Why are you telling them to hold off for a month when the CDC just said you can do it now?
And the governor of Oregon's going with the
Fully
CDC.
vaccinated people don't have to be masked.
And Washington.
Indoors. What I'm saying is, there's still lots of unvaccinated.
Oh, okay, I got you. So just as a general rule, So if somebody walks in and says, no, but I'm vaccinated, you just want them to be patient.
Yeah, I want them to be patient because I want everybody who wants to get a vaccine, I want them to have had a chance to get that vaccine and be fully vaccinated. But the truth is, you're absolutely right. We're going to end up having unvaccinated people indoors, unmasked, and there's not much we can do to prevent all those people from harming themselves or harming other unvaccinated people. That's the unfortunate reality of where we are.
I hope you also tell the governors, have your own state pass. You've got the rolls if we got the vaccine. You know, we have the Excelsior pass here. It's not perfect. You know, there's a little bit of a lag time. I think that, you know, they catch up with who got it. You know, you have to wait the 14 days until after. But it's a nice tool to have. It's a nice tool to have. Ashish Jha, thank you very much, Doc. Appreciate it. All right, President Biden is trying to ease fears on another front, okay? He's got a lot on his plate. People are spooked about gas prices, and they are spooked about how vulnerable the infrastructure is because of this pipeline attack. And you know what? They are right. He says panic buying is only going to slow the process of getting things back to normal. He's true, but guess what? We're weak, and this is what we do. Haven't you seen us in the pandemic? Weak people make for hard times. So, where has this hit the hardest? Where do gas prices stand now? And what do we see coming as a result? Look who's here.
The Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz.
And let me get the General Hospital feed before I lose it like the other day.
I said to him, you know how to customize your car insurance with Liberty Mutual. So
Where
you
did
pay
the...
for what you need.
Let me see. What happened to the other stream? I mean, the other...
Only pay for what you need.
How many windows do I have open here?
I'm training for my 6th Olympics. That means sore back, sore knees, sore everything. KT Tape helps me push past the pain.
KT Tape is used by athletes around the world. Super easy to apply. KT Tape. Train longer, finish stronger.
KT Tape works for me, it'll work for you.
Trending. Lunch with me. I am not trending. I am no longer... Who's on Hap Stars, Auburn Music? And who else? Kerry, Native Graffiti. Alright.
When traders tell us how to make Thinkorswim even better, we listen. Like Jack. He wanted a streamlined version and get access anywhere. No download necessary.
Alright, well, if you're coming down and going back to your...
She wanted to execute a preset trade strategy in seconds. So,
Bad.
we gave him Thinkorswim Web. Because platforms this innovative aren't
All
just
right.
made for traders, they're made by them. Thinkorswim Trading from TD Ameritrade.
Nail and toe fungus are nasty. Only OptiNail 2-in-1 starts improving the appearance of fungus-damaged toenails in just 2 days. Plus, a powerful antifungal that kills the fungus around the nail. OptiNail 2-in-1. Give fungus-damaged toenails a makeover.
When the threat from fire and water damage is at its biggest,
What is that?
to the team that stays with you until even the smallest detail is taken care of. 1-800-SERVE, the #1 choice in commercial cleanup and restoration.
What is that? Like a lizard?
I felt relieved, empowered. Get that clear skin feeling with our 3 skincare systems. Proactive Set clinically proven ingredients to clear skin.
Is that the lizard's front or the lizard's back? Anyway.
With moderate to severe ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease, your plans can change at any time. Your head wants to do one thing, but your gut says, not today. GI-focused Intibio is made for this. Intibio acts
Let me see if I can get the
GI
General Hospital stream so that I don't lose it this time. Stream, Xfinity.
Many patients achieve long-term relief and remission. It may help you too. Infusion and serious allergic reactions can happen during or after treatment. Intibio may increase risk of infection, which can be serious. Although unlikely, a risk of PML.
I'm ending this broadcast in like 4 minutes.
Cannot be ruled out. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, experience frequent infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Liver problems can occur with Intibio. If other treatments haven't worked well enough, ask your doctor about Intibio. If you're experiencing financial hardship during these trying times, Takeda may be able to help.
Lawn, mowed. Cabinet, handled. Bathroom, tiled. Air, conditioned. Rack, mounted. Barking, blazed. Your project? Finished. With a little help from Angie. Get $20 off your first home project at Angie.com today. Make your home an Angie home. Angie. And done.
New details emerging about the Colonial Pipeline cyber attack. Sources tell us the company has
Paid a
a
ransom.
group known as DarkSide. We know the criminal gang based out of Russia demanded nearly $5 million in ransom. We don't know how much was paid or won, but after a 6-day shutdown, we do know that the pipeline is back up. It's going to take time, though, before things get back to normal. Stations all across the Southeast are still facing outages. New data tells us the panic buying is not the only problem in the crisis. So what are the other factors? Harry Anton, Wizard of Oz, is here. What are we seeing in terms of who got hit hardest?
You put it correctly in your opening there. It's the Southeast United States. And what's so interesting is it's throughout the South and places that weren't necessarily seeing these fuel shortages, say, yesterday, are now seeing them today. So Washington, D.C., look at this. 73% of gas stations without fuel. North Carolina, 70%. South Carolina, 53%. Virginia, 50% without fuel. Even down in Florida, 29% without fuel. And what we've seen throughout the last couple of days is sort of, as the news has gotten out about these shortages, more people are panic buying, and these numbers have been rising in a lot of these different places.
You know, I was looking at Gas Buddy. You know, you can't cross-index for income. And I always wonder whether or not this type of distribution of pain is also indexed by socioeconomics. Like if you go in the poorer areas, I wonder if the stations there stay at the same percentages or even higher. Despite officials trying to urge calm, as you just said, panic buying is going, and it's pushing prices. How much?
Pushing prices to the highest level since 2014. Look at this. Over $3 a gallon. That's up 17 cents from where we were a month ago. A year ago, when we were right in the heart of the pandemic, right at the beginning, we were under $2. We're even above where we were 2 years ago, right at $2.86. So what we're seeing is this is a regional story, yes, in terms of where we're seeing the gas shortages, but it's also a national story in terms of that it is spiking the fuel prices in a lot of different places. And we're seeing this indication here right now, over $3 a gallon. As I said, we haven't seen it since 2014. It's just part of that national story. The regional story has become national.
You and I talk all the time about how important gas prices are on a national level in terms of household economics. Now, I said in the office when you were scarfing down my dinner that well, this is going to happen and then it's going to end, and this is a scare and it's worth it. You say, no, it's not just a scare. We're going to see this throughout the summer, and not just because of prices. How so?
Yeah, to me, this story is so interesting insofar it intersects with a lot of different things. You know, remember last week we were talking about people, there was a supply shortage for jobs, right? People weren't necessarily applying to jobs. This applies here too, and it has to do with the people who actually drive the fuel to the different stations. What do we see? Fuel tanker drivers that are parked because there are no drivers. We're expecting 20 to 25% of the fuel tankers to be parked because of no drivers. That is significantly higher than we were 2 years ago at this point at just 10%. So this is a story that really intercedes with a lot of things. So even though, look, the pipeline's going to get back up, it's very possible that we could see elevated gas prices because we're not getting the folks in those trucks to actually drive the fuel to the gas station.
There may be correlation, but not causation with the pipeline thing. They just may have a labor shortage. I think we have to go back to that story. Every person I talk to, remember, the reach is great. You know, yeah, sure, I live in New York City, but I have a radio show on SXM and, 2 podcasts now. So I have a lot of reach.
Congratulations.
People coming at me. That's not what it's about. What I'm trying to say is I have a lot of people telling me what I don't know. And the point is, they say to an employer, I can't get them to work because they're making more money at home. That is becoming the dominant narrative on why people coming back. And I watch I read the work at CNN and other places. Do you think that is becoming the main reason that they can't find service industry labor?
I'm sure it's part of it, right? It has to be at least part of it, but I don't think it tells the entire story, right? I think the pandemic, for one thing, has changed a lot of people's minds on what they necessarily want to do for a living. They've stayed at home. They've realized certain things.
But they can't stay at home if they can't live, and they're getting paid to live. That's why you see states trying to short them on the unemployment. What do you think of that move, and what do you think the reality is about how many are just living fat and happy off the extra vig from the federal government?
Look, it's certainly the case that it's some of it, but look, if you're driving a truck, it's one thing, right? You're pretty isolated. But if you're going to go back to, say, a place in which you're interacting with a lot of people and you don't know whether or not they're vaccinated, and maybe you haven't gotten a chance to get the vaccine because you might have to work hard, there's a possibility you might get COVID from there. So that's one factor. That's certainly a lot. Another factor that I think we pointed out last week is that I think there are a lot of people who don't necessarily know that jobs are available to them from time to time. And I just think that there are a lot of different factors that are interceding here. Yes, it is possible that folks are staying at home because they're getting that unemployment insurance. But as we spoke about last week, it's just one of many factors that I think are at play. And I think it's sort of this easy crutch for people to lay upon, just pointing out that when there are a lot of different factors that are going on.
I mean, saying that living off the dole makes people not want to work is not a new trope in politics, and it is often discriminatory and doesn't get the whole picture. We'll see here. Quick, go.
One little thing I'll just point out also, get the kids back in school because there are a lot of parents that have to stay home because they have to take care of the kids. Getting the kids back in school, I think, could really put at ease, at least in terms of the larger picture.
Strong point. Harry Anton, Wizard of Oz, thank you. Thank you right back.
But
This is our block, our place, our people. Not having a ride to get the vaccine can't be the reason you don't get it. Want to help? Donate a ride today.
10 years ago, we found a Loan Depot because we were
We've got on the ropes. The billionaires buying elections. The corporate special interests poisoning campaigns with dark money. Frantic to preserve big money politics as usual. Because the For the People Act is on the verge of becoming law. Reining in corporate lobbyists. Finally banning dark money. Protecting our freedom to vote. Billionaires and special interests, your day is nearly done. Because it's time for the people to win. Finally, the number one free slot.
Beer Black Psoriasis.
There's so much to do and see in there's so much.
okay, bye. Thanks for tuning in.